Good afternoon. This is Beaty-Coffey of the Ministry of Uncover No More. So I will go ahead and do my special thing that I like to do, because I'm going to choose to celebrate today, even though it's been a rough year. This year has been too rough, particularly after the other ones. That's how I feel today, and I know that I am not the only person that feels that way in the United States of America. And then if I was allowed the privilege of all of the, let me just cut to the chase and be simple here, Democrats in Texas, we would probably be an angry yet weeping mess together right now. And those of us that are Gen X, we feel, I would suspect, I would imagine that I'm not the only one by a long shot. We feel so alone. We have been and continue to, everywhere we are and everything we're doing, I have woven beautiful conversation after beautiful conversation with people, sometimes getting fighting from people, sometimes not, about universal health care and gun reform, and trying to be positive about the candidates that would give me that, as long as there is solidarity throughout the government. Well, what's been happening to us is a horror story, federally and state to state. It's not every state, but it's some of them. Yet here we are. I am, let me show you, on the book of the poetry. There's one thing I want to, for the rest of my life, become good at. It's seeing divine appointment. Because I don't know about you, but every day I'm just thinking, what am I supposed to do now? I have worked so hard only to have to walk out of Christian religion after years and years. And what am I supposed to do now? So many people kind of hate on me right now. Don't like what happened to them. And are blaming me when I was doing the best I could too. I've had that for over and over and over in the past 14 years. So this is providential, because this morning I lit this same set because I'm dwelling downstairs today, and it's better for my back. We have a futon couch in the living room, and I needed a nap after taking a bunch of Tylenol, Motrin, because it's off-brand Motrin. I'm in quite a bit of physical tension, pain, and it's complicated, but I'm okay. I do a lot of work around the house. I enjoy my life, but then I'm wandering around my entire life, driving people places, doing this, doing that, and this has been for many years. I'm wandering around going, well, where do I belong in this? Feeling so controlled because I was by religious cultishness. Okay, you heard me take a sip of tea. I had one of these of coffee. I've had a quart of milk, a quart of water, a lovely salad. I made quinoa. I also made spaghetti for my kids. Have done some yard work. See, I do have a beautiful life. And then there's this mourning going on inside of me. Well, my tea is peppermint, some basil, some sage, and just Lipton. And here is this pair of incense and a candle, and this is Nag Champa, which is very nice. And right now, I got into a little bit of spiritual investment, a whirlwind in a void is actually because of the unification of Judah in Oracle. And that's been coming through since after the fourth blood moon. We could not identify what we were going to need to do with Oracle as Tribe Judah elect across the United States, particularly, but then also the world, until after the fourth blood moon. If you want to understand the historical significance of blood moons, please go look it up. That you don't even have to read a book. It's on the internet. Definitely do not read somebody like John Hagee's book. Don't read a Christian perspective. Let me say that again. Do not ever read a Christian perspective when it comes to anything having to do with spiritualism. They are in the Dark Ages. They are obviously politically trying to control women still, and that is right in the curse. And they can't see it. It's so obvious it makes me sick sometimes, and then I have to live my true life, which is much more free. And I worked very hard for that freedom and for my children. And so things as they go, it's an interesting process, a very interesting process. So the reason that I'm declaring this day, this moment, divine appointment, is because I was awaking and making sure I was getting some things cleaned up and stuff. And then all of a sudden I saw 222, and so in the afternoon, and so I came in here and I read two poems. This is The Rainy Day by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow that I'm about to read to you. But here's the point. I didn't know it was July 22nd. See, so that's, for me, I call it when I know it's a divine appointment, and it's a privilege when I can actually be writing and doing artwork for a poem or something like that, because poems are always very, very encouraging in our day-to-day life, and as is just reading books. But here is another thing. The poem after it I actually read first, and as I was lighting this incense, a little piece of it flecked and made a phoenix out of the first part of it, which this will be another blog article. I had already made this part a phoenix. So again, that's just divine appointment, teeny tiny. And I pray for you, all you lovely people that work so hard, that are doing the best you can, like all of us over here are, that you will see the baby divine appointments, the baby ones, because all of us have them. It's just our society is so fucked up, we have a hard time remembering the baby divine appointments that we have. Now, the reason that I'm doing this video on my father's desk with his board here is twofold. First off, for my own nourishment because of what I've been through. And secondly, because The Rainy Day, which is this one's YouTube, is about what I'm talking around. And what I'm talking around is what runestones teach us, primarily. And that is exactly this poem. Poets and people like Ralph H. Bloom, who is the master of the book and the runes that I use, are on the same wavelength. And obviously I am too, or I wouldn't have shown you the baby divine appointments. And this is a wavelength that all of us must practice to get within. And what I'm going to tell you is, this is hashtag 4_Jesus. That is a new series of tweets. I only have 2 accounts now. I took out 2 of my accounts. It was too much. I was on Twitter. I was getting, I'm just thankful I didn't, I better not say anything, I'll start crying. Jude is in a tremendous rest period now. But it took a lot of work to get here this time, as every time. I'm not going to tell you the details. They're too super spiritual. My baby, divine appointments, to be sitting here reading this poem, explaining to you that this is exactly what the runes are saying, is enough divine appointment for this YouTube. I am somebody who has miraculously suffered through and shared and rejoiced within numerous divine appointments. It has been very hard for me to know exactly what the King needed me to do next. And I'm finding my way through his leadership from a distance. So this poetry is obviously saying, thank you for including me, Cara. That's Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. The Mandela book that you're seeing is one that is extremely important. And here is the book that must be studied right now with A.W. Tozer. This woman, A.W. Tozer, this author of poetry, are they're of the highest order of sorceress, like I am, and like a few people around me are. All glory to God in all capitals, where there's neither male nor female. We are very simple people, though. I'm thankful that Elizabeth Clare Prophet can actually publish books. My books were destroyed. I can't publish to sell. I'm glad she could. But my bills are paid. I'm cared for. More and more, the vow of poverty I retook because I've been charged with so much and had so many lies spoken about me, and probably did buy things too much occasionally, but being disinherited was wrong. All of that I'm having to go through, getting over while mourning the loss of my parents the way it happened. After losing my brother dead in the street twice, it's very easy to get into this situation where you say, why me, Lord? And I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be thankful. And you're seeing me actively choose Thanksgiving. I also rarely take medication, and so putting myself out of pain was a relief today. I could choose to do that. You see, I can't take ibuprofen if I'm going to drive. So on going out days, it's slightly different than on staying in days. So that's just normal for me. I'm a mother of a lot of children. There's a lot of things I learned to do with herbs and stuff that so that I dealt with my chronic pain, also dealt with some of my spirituality better, and then also, I'm 56. I still have chronic pain and will always because of scoliosis. And I'm very judicious in what I take, and it is only over-the-counter medicine. So, I'm not going to hopefully ever need to go over to the other side of prescription medicine for pain. The one time it was tried, I broke out in a rash that took 3 months to leave my body. So, I can't. It makes me sicker to take medication, not better in any way, shape, or form. So, anyway, I would imagine, I know J.R.R. Tolkien was very much this way. His book, by the way, is upstairs. And the reason that it is upstairs with Elizabeth and Robert Barrett Browning is because they are congregating together, and we are dwelling within one chapter of called The Return of the Noldor that is in the Silmarillion. That's why you see this mandala. I've got to finish it, and I got into some prophetic, occultic, sorceress, metaphysical difficulty because of oracle, because I have a particular way of carefully dealing with oracle, and I know there's many others. We can clash, and Christians are attacking us still, and so it's a situation where we have to learn how to use the circumstances of our lives and stay at peace and help with the balance around us and not contribute to the fighting. It is a learning process of a journey. So I'm going to read the poem. It's called The Rainy Day. So I hope I have mentored some people here about divine appointment. There's huge ones. The King of Kings, talking to Mary Magdalene right after he was arisen, was a huge, in all capital letters, divine appointment. Beaty-Coffey telling you that I saw 222 and all of a sudden it was time to do this poem is a baby step divine appointment. I have no problem being correct and using what I know of the King of Kings to say. He would say all of them are important. He already knows how important his life is. He wants us to understand how important our lives are. I feel like a piece of shit most days in Texas, and they are ugly in our state government right now, and that is a large part of it. On a private level, we need to learn to nurture one another better than this. I am going to be saying that for a while. We need to learn to nurture one another and to accept one another exactly how we are. The Rainy Day by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. The day is cold and dark and dreary. It rains and the wind is never weary. The vine still clings to the moldering wall, but at every gust the dead leaves fall, and the day is dark and dreary. My life is cold and dark and dreary. It rains and the wind is never weary. My thoughts still cling to the moldering past, but the hopes of youth fall thick in the blast, and the days are dark and dreary. Be still, sad heart, and cease repining. Behind the clouds is the sun still shining. Thy fate is the common fate of all. Into each life some rain must fall. Some days must be dark and dreary. And that is the lesson of runes, and that is the lesson of this gentleman, and it is the lesson I've said over and over. And so we have solidarity in what we do with our pain and our needy times is very important. And so this is Cara-Coffey of the Ministry of Uncovered No More. Let me show you this. As I finish it, is going to be very, very worthy of what it is accomplishing. This poem is equally worthy, just like much of what you do each day, my loves, of being a part of the universal truth of love. even when the government doesn't give a fuck about us. And that is exactly what we're going through right now. In Texas, it's very, very real. And as I'm sure it is in others of the 50 states. The Rainy Day by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow is not, my page is not finished, but I said, why must torment still come? I do not know, however, this poem helps. And then I copied the third verse. I smile. I chose to fellowship with you, dear ones, and Henry, precisely July 22nd, 2022 at 2:22. Lots of 2. That's good for me as a numeric alphanumeric sorceress, among other things in my sorceress life. So I labeled it what it is, a divine appointment. And then I showed you how little bitty burn in my book became the eye of a phoenix all of a sudden, that I had not put an eye there yet. So here's how I'll end. Pull up a chair with a warm cup of tea. Read this poem as I smile at thee.